Welcome to week 8 Bible Studies for Life. Today we're in Exodus chapter 1 and 2. Okay, we've kind of taken a leap out. This is a special week. This is Sanctity of Human Life Sunday for Southern Baptists, and so that's why we've kind of changed out of the passages and the stuff we were talking about in worship that we started last week into this new week. So we'll be in Exodus 1 and 2 today. I think it's a great passage. Familiar, maybe, to a lot of us. We've heard this before, but I think it's a good way to think about what life is about and understand that life has been under assault forever, always. Okay? Before we dive into the passage, if you haven't already, hit subscribe, hit the like button, thumbs up, tell us a comment, let us know if you've got a question, share with us where you're watching from, and then share the video with somebody else. Appreciate it if you'll do that. If you want to support the work that we've got going in mission and in our teaching ministry, you can go to give.exposedtochrist.com and support that. We're going to have news coming up very soon about a mission opportunity in North Carolina with hurricane relief from Hurricane Helene. So anyway, let's look at Exodus chapter 1. When you help the Hebrew women give birth, observe them as they deliver. If the child is a son, kill him, but if it's a daughter, she may live. The midwives, however, feared God and did not do as the king of Egypt had told them. They let the boys live. Okay, here you go. We're picking up in the middle. Here's what I say often. You got to read all of chapter 1. You got to pick up on the story, right? So we know that the Israelites have ended up in Egypt while Joseph was there, helped save the family, but years, several hundred years have passed, and they're now looking at the Israelites and fearing the growth of that nation. And so the new Pharaoh, his decision is, we're going to try to get rid of this growth that's happening. We're going to, and basically we're going to, his idea is we're going to get rid of all the males. And so this new generation of girls that are raised up, the only people they're going to be able to marry are Egyptian males, and then we'll have them into our society. They'll stop being separate like they are, and that will be good for us. That's how he'll get rid of this Jewish influence and the Jewish population growing so much in Egypt, which they fear because they're not living the same way that the Egyptians are living. Okay? So he tells them, he gives instructions to the midwives. The king of Egypt, the Pharaoh, gives instructions to the midwives. This is not something they're going to disobey, but they do, right? He says, when you help the Hebrew women give birth, you observe what's happening. And if the child is a son, kill him. Now, he's just straight out saying it, right? If a little boy is born, kill the boy. If it's a girl, well, the daughter, she can live, right? Daughter, she can live, but the little boy, we're going to kill him. We're going to get rid of the males out of this next generation of Jewish boys, Jewish children. We're going to get rid of the males so that then we can have the females marry into the male Egyptians, okay? But look at this. The midwives, and they're named, these two of them, they feared God and did not do as the king of Egypt told them. They let the boys live. In fact, what they told the king is, man, those women, those Jewish women, they're so hardy, whatever, they give birth before we get there. We haven't had the opportunity. We just hadn't been able to do it. And he's not happy about it, right? And then Moses is born. Okay, so we're going on to chapter 2. Okay, we're going to go on in the passage now. Had a little mishap, got it all straightened out. All right. Pharaoh then commanded all his people, you must throw every son born to the Hebrews into the Nile, but let every daughter live. So Pharaoh is doubling down on the deal, right? The midwives they undermine what he wants to do, and so he just tells people, look, here's what you're going to do. You're just going to throw every son born into the Nile. You're just going to throw them in the river. We're just going to have the nation, we're going to take care of this problem, okay? Now, a man from the family of Levi married a Levite woman. The woman became pregnant and gave birth to a son. When she saw that he was beautiful, she hid him for 3 months. But when she could no longer hide him, she got a papyrus basket for him and coated it with asphalt and pitch. She placed the child in it and set it among the reeds by the bank of the Nile. So you see what's happening here, the desperation that's occurring among the Israelites. And she has this birth, she gives birth to a son. She knows they're going to kill the child, so she hid him, right? For 3 months, she hid him. For 3 months, she did all she could. But there's a point where she knew it's just not going to happen, right? She could no longer hide him. She knew that, right? So she gets a basket, And she puts it in the reeds by the bank of the Nile. She puts this baby boy in this little basket in the river and sets him off. She just believes, if he's going to die, he's going to die anyway, right? So maybe he has a chance here. This is desperation. This is calling out to God because she loves her baby, right? And look, then his sister stood at a distance in order to see what would happen to him. And Pharaoh's daughter went down to bathe at the Nile while her servant girls walked along the riverbank. And she saw the basket among the reeds and sent her slave girl, took it, opened it, and saw him, the child, and there he was, a little boy, crying. She felt sorry for him and said, "This is one of the Hebrew boys." What an amazing occurrence, right? Not just that somebody finds the little boy, but an Egyptian finds. But not just an Egyptian, this is Pharaoh's daughter, right? She finds the baby. And she knows what's happening, right? It's obvious what's occurred. This is not, everybody knows. Imagine the wailing that's taking place among the Israelites as boys are ripped from their mother's arms and just thrown into the river to drown and die. Imagine how horrible it is and how terrible things are and the deep pain. I mean, it maybe helps us understand a little bit about what happens when we have the last of the 10 plagues. Right? Where things get flipped and it happens to Pharaoh, but dadgum, this is hard, right? This is so difficult. What a challenge to live through this, and they know it. And Pharaoh's daughter, she sees that and says, "This is one of the Hebrew boys," and there is something in her that has mercy. She has mercy on him. The sister's following along, she sees what's happening, right? And then his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, "Should I go and call a Hebrew woman who is nursing to nurse the boy for you?" Pretty smart, right? "Go," Pharaoh's daughter told her. So the girl went and called the boy's mother. And then Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this child and nurse him for me, and I will pay your wages." So the woman took the boy and nursed him. And when the child grew older, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She named him Moses because, she said, "I drew him out of the water." It's interesting, right? I mean, we know Moses, but I think we don't often remember how his name comes about. The root of his name is where he came from. He drew him out of the water. Okay, so the sister goes to Pharaoh's daughter and says, "Maybe I could go get a Hebrew woman to take care of the baby for you." And she says, "Yeah, that's a good idea. You go do that." So she went and called the boy's mother. Her mom, "Come." Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this child, nurse him for me, and I will pay your wages." I want you to see what the Lord has done. While this woman was afraid that her baby boy was going to die, and so she's doing everything she can to try to save his life, now she gets to take care of and raise her son and get paid for it and have the comfort of Pharaoh's household while she's doing it, right? Now, obviously, when the child grew older, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter and he became her son. She had to give him up. She'd already given him up once. Right? When she put him in the reeds, she'd already given him up once. And then God gave him back to her. And so now she has, in many aspects, when she placed that baby in the basket in the reeds, she was giving her child to the Lord. "Lord, you're going to have to take care of this child." So she had already given her child to the Lord. The Lord had given him back to her and allowed her such precious, important time and nursing and raising up this child in the first few months, years of his life. And now when she gives him back to Pharaoh's daughter, it's not a giving to Pharaoh's daughter. It's just repeating what she'd done before. She gave him to the Lord. He had been given to the Lord. Look, that life is so precious, and it's horrible, isn't it, to think of what was happening as all of these children were dying, and the anger and the hatred and the evil of the king of Egypt and how he acted towards them. And yet, God took that moment to raise up this boy, put him in Pharaoh's household so that he could deliver the Israelites. And it would be 80 years later. 80 years. The Israelites are crying out to the Lord. The Lord had already been working. The Lord had already been at work. And part of this lesson is about the sanctity of life, right? But part of it is about understanding all that God will do to save life, all that God will do to move and work in our lives, and how God has already been at work in the things that we face that are so difficult. If we'll just trust the Lord has already been at work to create a solution. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope that's helped. A good story. It's good to read it back again and just kind of remember all these things and then be careful with it, right? Of trying to get all the pieces of it. It's helpful. Thanks for watching. Be sure and subscribe, like, comment, share. I'll see you next week.